Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing good on this Thursday night. I can't believe it's one more week until Thanksgiving. My goodness, time is flying by. So I had, and of course, you're tuning in to the Afterlife Chronicles. Let's just not forget to mention the show, right? So you are tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles here on the WLTK-DB network. I am your host, Nicole Strickland, as usual. And of course, you can find us right there on our site WLTK-DB.com or the letstalk.com, all over social media, just with that handle WLTK-DB. So I had prepared a few announcements tonight, but you know what? We have so much to get into with tonight's guest. So I'm just going to forego those. But I do want to mention that tonight's guest, Brandon Wainwright, and we'll bring him in a second. Uh, his story mirrors one of my own. So I have never been more quick to respond to a publicist with an interview offer as I did with Brandon. Immediately wrote back saying, "Oh my gosh, of course, I would love to interview him." He's a Northern California police officer, Reiki practitioner, and of course, author of Tyson's Gift: How an 8-pound canine became a man's greatest spiritual guide. Right there. The book is fantastic. I couldn't literally not put it down. And like I was saying before, I was a little fragmented. Sorry about that. A lot of you know that I lost my cat, Max Strickland, in 2016 to cardiomyopathy. And the story of losing Max and becoming acquainted with Max in the spirit realm mirrors Brandon's story on so many levels. So I'm just more than honored to have him on my show tonight. This is amazing. I know it's a reschedule. So I thank him for his patience with that. So let's go ahead and bring him in, Mr. Brandon Wainwright. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. How are you?
Hi, Nicole. I'm well. How are you? So,
I'm doing good. Yeah, time's flying by, but
I want to
yeah.
apologize for being a little late getting in there. I went in through my normal server
Oh
and
no, not at all.
it needed Chrome, so it cost me a couple minutes. So I apologize. I didn't mean to be inconsiderate there.
Right, there you go. No, no. Yeah, no worries at all. I know technology, right? And StreamYard's weird. Sometimes you can click on a link and then you're backstage, but some people can't see that you're backstage, so it's
Mm.
crazy, but here you are, and thank you so much for being on the show. It's really an honor
Oh, and
to
thank you.
talk with you, and your book is
Same here.
absolutely amazing. Just the way you
Thank
wrote
you.
it and the story, and I think that it can really help and resonate with many people. So
I
thank
hope
you for
so.
being here.
So thank you. I appreciate being here.
So absolutely, and there's just right on time. At all other times, she's quiet, but
uh,
the
uh,
second this happens all the time. The second I start my show, there she goes. So that is Miss Kaylee, Max's
yeah.
sister, and she's meowing. So I apologize for that. But
You
anyways,
may at
if
some
she
point
was
hear my dogs fighting in the background too. So.
there, you go. Right, so I don't feel so bad. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
if she was closer, I'd pick her up, but she's walking out of the room. But anyways, let's get going with the show. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to meet Tyson. This is such an amazing story.
Well, as far as spiritually, I was, I was one of those people that never really took to religion. I was raised in an agnostic household, and um, I wasn't anti-religious. In fact, I did a lot of spiritual study and searching in college and after college, and but none of it was ever taken. I wouldn't say desperately wanted, but I really was feeling a pull towards the spiritual. But for me,
Yeah.
spirituality and religiousness or religion were they were intermixed and synonymous, if you will. So it was the only avenue that I really knew to pursue it, the only thing tangible for me, at least. And none of it took. And then I even ended up meeting a very religious woman who I fell in love with and got engaged to, and the whole 9 yards. And but ultimately, I couldn't find truth in her church, and it ended up, causing us to break up. And even there, I was desperately, like, it was one of these deals where I was desperately trying to find truth in it, and I couldn't. I still
Mhm.
couldn't find truth, even at the point where I was going to be losing a loved one over it. So I'm not somebody that's easily, I'm very skeptical, or I used to be very skeptical of spiritual things. And so it was going to take something pretty significant to launch me into a realm where I was fully there and no longer doubting so much. And so when Tyson came into our lives in 2005, and he was just this really special dog. He seemed more human than he did canine,
Right.
and I've always been a dog lover, but I had a number of traumatic experiences with animals as a child, and losing them, and not through death, but having them taken away from me. And then I had a fairly traumatic family background too. I mean, nothing that's like crazy or anything, but enough. And so when Tyson came into my life, here I am, a dog lover, and expecting him to be nice, and he was not nice. He was a really tough egg to crack. He was a Chihuahua Dachshund mix, little guy,
Oh my
8 pounds,
gosh.
and
Lovely.
3/4. You can see his little face there. 3/4 Chihuahua, quarter Dachshund. So in my opinion, he was the perfect mix of the two. But he
So handsome.
so handsome, and that was the first
Mhm.
thing. I mean, when I looked in and saw him, he was in my girlfriend, now wife's, car, sitting
I
there in his
love
little crate.
this. So
Yeah.
cute.
I looked in though, and I was like, man, what a handsome boy. His beautiful eyes, and so I'm telling him how handsome he is, and he's he's growling at me, and it was pretty much like that. I mean, he was like a little hellhound toward me for literally a couple of months. I mean, it was a very slow process of trust being built, and whereas with my wife, he was a perfect prince. It was like two different dogs. But what I realized, even once I finally won him over, I really realized that he opened my heart. In fact, I had to open my heart to him in order to get him to open up to me. It was like, no way, buddy, you're gonna have to, So I mean, the
Yeah.
thing that what was in
Right.
there, it wasn't that I didn't have a good warm heart towards the animals, but it was forcing me to really be in that space all the time, just this loving space with him, because that was the only way I could get him to even entertain the idea of being near me, was to be very soft and warm with him. And like I said, I'm a warm person anyway, but it really got me to find parts of my heart and personality that I had kind of pushed off to the side, and in survival mode, pushed off to the side a little bit. And so he opened my heart. That's the best way to put it. And then he just
That's
had this
amazing.
he had this amazing personality. That was, as I haven't read the book. He was very mischievous, got very whatever he wanted to do, he was going to do it, regardless of how anybody else felt about it.
Exactly. I know some
Yeah,
of the stories of him, as I was reading, I couldn't help but chuckle just because they're so adorable. So
but
it's
a lot of
yeah,
people
really
wouldn't
great
have been
read.
open to him, though. I know, referring back to my childhood, I don't know that my parents he would have survived in my household as a child. He might have ended up another one that got taken away, but in our household,
Mm.
he was a beloved little angel, so
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, so he had this richness of personality and spunk, and he was such a dichotomy. He was a tough guy, but at the same time very sensitive and needy. Just a very rich soul, and I think, if you read it, you get a very distinct impression. He was and is a very old soul, and so, but long story short,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
throughout his life, he certainly opened up my heart, but still, the religious and spiritual aspects of things, it wasn't something that, it was still not anything that was becoming a part of my paradigm, but when he passed away, it was a different story, because I was 45 at the time. I had lost my fair share of loved ones and even animals up to that point, but I had always just kind of accepted it and moved on with myself and just, I don't know. It is what it is. It's type of thing. But with him, it was different because he was like, I was so close to him. We were all so close to him. He was like a combination of a child, a brother, a younger brother, an older brother, a mentor. I mean, he was really special. And so within fairly short order after he passed away, I realized that I wasn't just dealing with the loss. I was dealing with not knowing where he was and that he was okay. And that wasn't something that I was able to process. I needed more. I couldn't just say, well, he's okay. I couldn't do it.
Absolutely.
And
very understandable.
And I think a lot of people, if they think real deeply about why they mourn so much over their pets, is that, and that is why. It's because the level of connection you have with them is so much. Well, really, what it is, I think, is that the relationship you have with a beloved pet it's more pure in a lot of ways than your human interactions, because there's no ulterior motives. They don't have their guard up around you, so you naturally drop it. The love that you share with them, there's no ego involved. It's just pure love that pours out of you. And I think that's why not only the comfort level that pets give to people is so great, because of what they give, and what you give back in return also does a lot of healing and enriches your life. But what you're putting out into the universe as a whole, as a result, is huge. Pets in that regard make the world a better place because of the energy that they produce.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so well said. Yeah. They vibrate at such, like you said, such a pure level and a higher vibration to them. So I absolutely agree with you.
But with
sounds
that,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's with that comes, a great loss when they pass, and you're left with this gaping hole, and for people like me that didn't have any real paradigm to focus on, any way to make peace with that, it's like 10 times harder, because you can't, it's not just the loss, it's the mourning of the worry. You're worried, you're having, it's much more difficult to find peace with it, because you don't know, and
Exactly.
and you can't not know. This is your baby, and so for me, that launched me into a search, and I read some books that were just really enlightening about specifically regarding animals in the afterlife. What I did was I realized that not necessarily that I was looking for a spiritual paradigm, but that I needed comfort with regards to the afterlife. And so I went on Amazon and I actually punched in animals in the afterlife, and I ended up reading some books that really shed a lot of light on this, and they were nonfiction, all true anecdotal stories about animals in the afterlife, reincarnation cases, cases with animal communicators that were incredibly accurate. And it was so compelling to me that it was like, it actually opened my mind up, because with religion, everything I'd found in religion is like, oh my gosh, this seems so far-fetched. And this didn't seem far-fetched, because it was the author was telling the story, and this is really what happened, and it seemed perfectly plausible to me that it could be real, but that pain that I was in, that loss, made me more open to exploring it, and so I'm so incredibly thankful. That's why I named the book
Right.
Tyson's Gift, because it wasn't just the gift that he brought to our lives; it was the gift of delving into this, and of course the guidance that I received from him in the afterlife as well. But so that's what ended up happening.
Ongoing gift.
Yeah, it is, and through the experiences that I document in the book, I found without question, that we do live on, that there is in fact an afterlife, and we're connected to it, whether we realize it or not. And we all have the ability to connect in with that if we're open to it. And it just gave me such a tremendous amount of peace, just knowing that first off, that there's more to our lives and there's more to our existence than just this world that we're living in right now. And I'm so, gosh, this all happened in 2018, in April of 2018. And I can't imagine how much harder, like this whole, what we as a world have been going through, since the end of 2019.
I know.
I can't even imagine going through that without having the insight that I gained from all these experiences. It's just got to be so much harder, So I'm hoping that my book, I mean, obviously, I wrote it because I wanted to honor Tyson, and I wanted to tell our story because it was written out of love for him. But the purpose, the true purpose behind it, the big purpose behind it, was to share the story and hopefully help others to not just gain peace from it, but to inspire them to go on their own journey and find this peace for themselves. Because I actually talk about it in the book. There's a big difference between reading about it and experiencing it for yourself. Because the books that I read had equally powerful stories in them, but they were still ideas, plausible ideas and exciting ideas, but they didn't truly take hold for me 100% until I went on my own journey. So I hope, I mean, as a lot of people, this isn't the time for them. They're not in that space, but I hope that for the people that are ready to hear this, or, in a place where they need it, that it'll inspire them to go on that journey. And for the people that aren't, I think the story itself, it's a pretty entertaining story anyway. Not just his life, but what I went through afterwards.
I commend you on writing this book. Like you said, it's going to resonate with so many people and help people on so many different levels, because the loss of a beloved animal, I think, is one of the cruelest things that we humans can endure. The pain is just, if you haven't experienced it, you can try to describe it to people. But if you've been there or you haven't been there, let's say if you've been there, you know what it is. You know exactly, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been there. So,
well, and that's I can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me, I had this beloved pet and I can't get another one because I just can't go through that again. Yeah. And I understand where people are coming from, but one thing that I'm also hoping that the book kind of does for people is it gives you a whole different perspective on life, and specifically the lives of animals, and it takes what it felt like. I described it this way in the book, is it felt like, even though Tyson lived to be 14 years old, he had a good life. He was surrounded with love and gave love, and he had a very wonderful life. But it still felt like a tragedy when he passed. And that was a matter of perspective.
Absolutely.
And I think the book, hopefully the book will give, a warm, loving perspective on that people will be able to relate to, will resonate with them, to help them not only in their, with the animals that they may have now, but it'll, inspire them to take another animal later into their lives, rather than being afraid of that pain again. Because, animals, I believe, we're all souls are here for a individual purpose, but they're also here for a purpose, a mission that they're trying to accomplish certain things for others as well. And with pets, that what they do for their humans is remarkable. They at least do as much for us as we do for them. And so by not taking in an animal, on the one hand, you're saving yourself pain, but you're also, depriving a potential amazing soul from being able to fulfill their mission and come into your life. And, and so
that is so well said. And we do have to take our first break. So you are tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles here on the WLTK-DB network with guest Brandon Wainwright. And we will be right back. So stay tuned.
Meet Nicole Strickland. One of the leading San Diego paranormal researchers, Nicole offers a gentle and humble approach to working with spirit energies. Being the founder of the San Diego Paranormal Research Society, Nicole is no stranger to the unknown. Due to Nicole's vast knowledge of the paranormal, she is widely sought after for speaking engagements on topics like Children of the Paranormal, Paranormal Investigation 101 and 102, History of Spiritualism, and more. Not only does Nicole research the afterlife, but also writes about it, and is the author of several books pertaining to the paranormal and its history. Nicole has appeared on television shows like My Ghost Story, Travel Channel's Famously Afraid, Good Morning San Diego, and more. Have a conference or event coming up? Contact Nicole on her website, authornicolestrickland.com. That's authornicolestrickland.com.
Minutes past the hour. You are tuning back into the Afterlife Chronicles here on the WLTK-DB network. I'm your host, Nicole Strickland, of course. And tonight we are talking with Brandon Wainwright. I'm going to show his book right here, Tyson's Gift, How an 8-Pound Canine. I love this. How an 8-Pound Canine Became a Man's Greatest Spiritual Guide. And that's a little picture of Tyson right there in his awesome cape. My goodness. So before the break, we were talking about your, it's so cute. I love it. Your journey with Tyson and how he's helped you evolve spiritually and just as a human being. And I just think it's, like I said before the break, it's such an amazing story that will really reach people on so many different levels, regardless of their spiritual journey. So I think it's just an amazing story and an amazing book. You did a really good job writing it and really sharing the story, because when I read it, I feel like I'm right there with you.
Oh,
So it
thank
makes
you.
sense. Yeah, so that's one thing. I mean, just from the start, from chapter 1, it's like I just felt like I was right there with you reading it. And I do want to say this to your dedication here. The book is dedicated to the spirit of love for our pets who selflessly bring so much joy to the world. And that's kind of what you were alluding to before the break, and that is so true. So just all around amazing job. I do want to ask you one question though. Do you feel, because some people may think or believe that a human soul and an animal soul cannot be on the same level or maybe be a part of the same group. I
Mhm.
believe that they can. So I don't know what your belief is on that, but do you feel that perhaps
Oh, I
Tyson's
agree.
soul and
Yeah,
your soul are among the same, and
I
that could be one
agree. Yeah,
connected?
I've heard that too. I've heard that there's from different experts that they interact with us, but they're not in the same soul group. And I have a hard time believing that. I feel like they are on the same level as us. I think
Right.
I I I mean Tyson's soul is too. I don't know. I mean he's way too rich in soul to not. I feel like he is as advanced as me or anybody else, on a soul
Right.
level. I mean, we as souls come to our earthly existence, and we take whatever body we're going to take, and that body has certain inherent gifts and abilities and intellectual abilities, that are limiting compared to what our soul's ability truly is. But that doesn't mean that the soul itself is any less or more. I don't
Right.
think. Um,
No, I agree. I
yeah,
agree completely.
I've even had people tell me. I actually,
So
Lisa Silva. Could, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're there. Yeah, keep going.
So okay,
Are you there?
Le-
Yeah.
Le- yeah.
My
I don't know what
internet is
happened.
being really weird, so I apologize, but continue on. There's like a delay. I'm so sorry. My
No,
goodness. Gotta
no,
love the
no, that's
internet.
okay. So
But anyway, so
I hardwire just in case.
oh,
The
there, see, you're smart.
Lisa Silverman, who's in my book, she's she's an incredible medium, and she believes that one of her dogs, who's no longer with us, was her dad. And,
See? Yeah,
you know,
that's far out thinking, but you know what? Like you said, very plausible. I absolutely believe that that's a possibility.
I mean,
Absolutely.
given how talented she is, I mean, I can't, I mean, there's got to be something to it,
Right. How can you
you know?
dismiss that? That's amazing, and it's like even with my cat Max, and I still have his sister, and it's hard to put into words, but I always felt that Max was more spiritually evolved than any other cat I've ever had. And he passed when he was 12, and I've always said, "You know what? His earthly duties were done and he was called home." And so that in and of itself gave me comfort. But God, that's far out thinking, but I believe it's a possibility. If she
I think
believes it,
so.
there has to be some truth. If you feel it, and I believe everyone has the capacity to be intuitive and all of that, but if you feel it, then and you're strong with those emotions, then there has to be some validity to that.
Yeah, I think
So,
so. I don't think that we have all the answers. I mean,
right.
there may be generalizations,
Yeah.
out there. I that's one of the things that makes spirituality much easier for me to delve into is that there isn't hard, fast dogma about it. Because
Exactly.
I feel like that dogma is not very realistic personally. I'm not knocking religion. I'm just saying that for me, that's how it is. So, by the same token, when it comes to spiritual dogmas or hard, fast rules, I tend to be a little bit skeptical. you know.
No, I agree. I completely agree. It's I was raised Catholic, and in my adult years, I am not assigned to any one religion. I'm more, if I have to say anything, I'm more of just a spiritualist. But I hear you, and in one of the beauties in the afterlife and experiences with spirit, it lies in its vagueness and its gray. It's not black and white, and to me, that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
it so compelling at times. But,
Mm-hmm.
with Tyson, what has he taught you about the afterlife? And what has he shared with you anything compelling about the afterlife that you've taken away from his teachings?
Well, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say that he specifically has taught me things about the afterlife, other than there is one.
Right,
I
yeah,
mean,
right, of course.
he's very the messages that I've received from him have been very clear through. I don't want to talk too much about it because I want people to be curious enough to read about it. But I
Of
mean,
course, yeah,
I
I know,
have.
I thought that right after I asked it,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
I have
totally.
a tendency. I'm a blabbermouth, and I that's one of my tendencies. Like I want to give away too much, but uh,
Yeah,
through the communicators and the mediums that I've worked with, I've had some really amazing connections with them. But he's actually, and I document this in the book. He's come to me a couple times, where I was able to receive, you know, communication from him, even if it was,
right.
I mean, really, it was. Well, I won't get into it, but you have to read about it. But yeah. So
See,
I
look
know,
at that, shame on me for asking that question, my
well,
goodness.
it's I have actually told this stuff afterwards, like, why did you do that? No one's going to want to read the book. But
Oh, they will.
it definitely, he's taught me that, but he's also, he's taught me that reincarnation is possible as well.
Yes,
And
okay, that's
I won't get into
amazing.
the specifics on that either. But
Yeah,
but
no, exactly.
he definitely, and yeah, he just and I think the just the amount of love and connection that I have with him, and having that, it was so comforting to know that love goes on, you know.
Exactly.
But that's one of the things that anytime you communicate with spirit, particularly with with past loved ones, when you receive those messages, and I think sometimes it's easier when you go through a medium because the skepticism gets taken out. They're receiving
Yes.
the message, whereas if it's coming through you, for unless you're somebody that's already advanced in that, you know you're you're gonna be questioning, is this really, am I receiving that? But when you go through a credible medium, it's like, okay, I trust her, or him,
Yeah,
and
confirmation.
and I document that too in the book, because I've had communications with a number of loved ones, not just family members either, people, friends that have passed, and the amount of love and just peace that you feel when connecting with souls is incredible. So yeah,
I've been there and I've felt that, and for people that do, they know exactly what you're talking about. It's the weirdest thing. When Max passed, I was just riddled with grief. I literally, seriously, the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But then, and it's hard to put this in words, but I almost felt at one point, this was a few months down the road, I felt like, well, Max is always with me. His soul is part of my own. He's not here physically, but he is here, and that gave me solace. So I'm sure that you've had
yeah.
that with Tyson as well.
Yeah, and even as I was, really, and I still consider myself to be in my spiritual infancy. And this is almost going on 4 years since all this happened. But even when I was in the first few months of it, there were times where I felt his presence. Even when I was at work, there's this one area at our headquarters where, walking into the door, and I was, outside in the dirt, and that's where I felt it. And every time I walk that path, I always, feel,
Oh, yeah, it
because
just touches you right here.
I just knew that he was with me, and everything was good. But that's, you're somebody that's very aware of the paranormal and the afterlife and all that, and it was still something you struggle with. So
Oh,
I think,
absolutely.
and that's where the loss factor lies.
Exactly.
And you can't, that's not something that, that's something we have to accept as part of, unfortunately or fortunately, and depending on your perspective, but that's part of our human experience, is having to experience those losses, which,
Absolutely.
like both of my parents are still alive, and I'm very close to my dad, and I he's getting up there, he's 74. I think about it sometimes, that's going to be tough,
Yeah.
but it'll be easier. It'll be easier for me now, I'll tell you that
Likewise.
much.
Likewise. And it's oh, I think we may have lost our oh, there he is.
Is
That's
that,
funny. I'm telling you, what is going
is
on?
that
I think it's the planetary retrograde. I'm blaming it on that. Okay. Not blaming it on my computer. Not blaming it on your
yeah.
computer. Blaming it on the planetary retrograde. No, it's funny. Anyways, so the last, can you repeat the last thing you said? It kind of cut out there.
Oh, I just, that my, that the grieving my parents, I think, will
Yeah.
be a little bit easier, knowing that not wondering, but knowing that they still exist, and that they're okay.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, they're not in the physical body anymore, so it's still hard. It's still,
That
that
is
that
exactly.
loss is still there. So
And it's that, being in the paranormal for me and researching the paranormal and having experiences with spirit, it really has helped me with grief and loss, having to say goodbye to loved ones or animals. And so there is a benefit there. And so
absolutely.
I'm indebted to the field for that. For, one of the main reasons I'm indebted to the field for that is it's really helped me understand the dying process, the physical dying process, and what awaits us, when we pass on from this realm. But I do want to talk to you because you've become a Reiki practitioner. So how
hmm
did you, or why did you evolve into that? Was that something that Tyson suggests to you, or just did it naturally evolve? Because
Well,
it's a great thing to do.
yeah, absolutely. I think I was definitely guided to it, but the catalyst for
Yeah.
me was when after I had my first major, well, it wasn't my first major communication with Tyson, but it was it was the mediumship session that really just blew my mind and proved itself to me. Because I kind of, as much as I would advise people not to go into it with that mentality that, oh, I'm going to see if I'm going to get them to prove it to me. I don't think, I think it, the thing for me is I had the spiritual openness and desire to find peace, as well as the desire for the proof. So,
Of course,
but I wasn't going into it as a scientific skeptic looking for proof. It was different, and so I think if you go into it with the former, you're not gonna, it's not gonna happen for you probably. And I wasn't even thinking it was gonna happen for me, to be honest with you. I was kind of at that point, I was like, maybe this isn't real. But then
it's weird how things evolve though, like that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
But once that happened, then it was like, okay, I found the truth that there really is an afterlife, and now I want to grow in this. I want to become more spiritually connected myself. I want to learn how to be able to communicate like Lisa did, and like Sandy did, and delve into whatever gifts I may have, or just learn more, And I had a friend that had just taken Reiki 1, a former police officer that I had worked with, actually, and she said Reiki's really cool. You should try it, And I've always been kind of drawn towards the helping arts, whether it be, at one point I was a personal trainer, and then I considered being a physical therapist, and then law enforcement, and so energy healing was a very intuitive, natural draw for me. And so when she's telling me about it, I was like, oh, this sounds cool, And I had even read about, like, there's a lot of spiritual universities have classes on energy healing, and I was really drawn to it. So, but it wasn't just that. It was also a way to grow spiritually, connect with spirit, and it seemed like a tangible route for me to take, as opposed to just sort of being like, oh, what do I do now? And do I get do I get crystals? Do I do I dye my hair purple?
Right.
I mean, and
crystals are amazing. Now I own a few.
Yeah, and I do too. I've got a handful. Yeah. But that was really what it was. It was and I went and I believed but I even there, it took a little bit. It took working with the energy, and practicing with it, and developing a relationship with it before it really started to fully resonate.
Absolutely. It's there's a lot of benefits to it. And some people will say, well, I know it's all about healing energy and everything, but what is your thought on, let's say someone's doing Reiki on someone, and that, let's say that the recipient is concerned that I guess the person conducting the Reiki, I guess, is their energy, maybe they're projecting some of their own issues onto the recipient. Because I mean, I've had Reiki and it works for me. I've been attuned to it, and there's so many benefits to it. But I have talked to people that are skeptical about it too. So what would you say as a practitioner to someone who, I guess, comes to you and says, well, I do want to get Reiki, but I'm not sure if someone that's going to be doing it, if they're going to be projecting their own energy onto me, unwanted energy, if you will, if that makes sense.
Well, what I would say is that Reiki, the best definition I've heard of it is spiritually guided life force energy. So that energy is coming from spirit, and it's pure,
from divine, right?
Yeah,
it's pure, right.
And as it's coming through the conduit or the practitioner, it isn't. It may, the practitioner's energy might inhibit it, I would say, if the practitioner is blocked somehow. But one, the energy will help.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It'll help them. As it flows. If the practitioner works with the energy on a regular basis, it will quickly clear out, and they'll probably be clear before they work on you anyway, if they're a good practitioner. That's one of the things I always do before
absolutely,
unless it's a spontaneous thing, where I usually do a meditation and clear myself before I send. But the thing,
there you go.
the energy that you're going to receive with regards to Reiki is pure, but our energies all interact regardless. I mean, if
Exactly. Yeah.
if you're sitting in a room with a practitioner and they've got negative energy, like I said, hopefully they're working on themselves, but that's something that you're going to deal with just as you move through the world, especially for the empaths amongst us, right?
That is very, very true.
And that's one of the
so true.
People always ask me, when you do this, does it exhaust you? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? And I say, no, I could, other than the fact that I'm sitting silent working, I mean, I could do it all day, and I don't feel less energy. In fact, it charges you.
I was just gonna say, I bet it does the opposite and it charges you.
Yeah, because it's not coming from the practitioner; it's coming from spirit. And I, usually when I always find that, because I don't do it professionally. In fact, lately I've primarily just given it to my family or somebody that might ask for it at work or something. I did hundreds of hours of practice, and I would love to do it on a more professional level, and maybe that will come. But where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought.
Oh my God, it happens to me all the time. See, there's that planetary retrograde again, people. That's what it is.
Yeah. Shoot, what was I? Oh, I know what it was. So when you spend an extended period of time with Reiki, which for me is usually in classes, because I don't, like I said, I don't do it professionally. It'll be for an hour at the most, usually at a time. But when I go to like a weekend long class, or by the end of that weekend, I am buzzing with energy.
I bet you
and it feels great, because for me, I perceive Reiki, the energy, the way I perceive it is electrical impulses, generally speaking. I feel little buzzes in my hands.
That's a good way to put it.
And when after a weekend of a Reiki class, it's like I've got so much energy in it, because it's just been flowing. Like the tunnel is all that plaque or whatever, if you will, that maybe it was built up because I hadn't been doing enough, just blown out. And that's why I'm really looking forward to retiring from law enforcement, because I want to be able to dedicate more of my time and energy into these things. And and it really requires you to we're all connected. We're all connected.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, we are.
But for most of us, it takes a conscious effort to tune in.
Yeah.
And some people, the people, I would say the people that you hear where they say they've always been able to do this, and they have more of a natural gift where just they're more aligned that way, where that's just their sensibilities or whatever. That I'd say they're the minority, but they aren't necessarily their ability isn't any necessarily stronger than yours, but it might require you to make a more conscious effort to find yours. I'm still, don't get me wrong, I'm just getting started. I mean, I feel like the energy healing is something that comes very natural for me, but the intuitive side of it is something that it's slow coming, it is coming.
Just going with the flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess allow it to come as it will and as it should. Amazing. This is amazing. We have to take our second break. So stay tuned, folks. You are, of course, tuning into the Afterlife Chronicles. I'm your host, Nicole Strickland, and our guest tonight is Brandon Wainwright, and we will be right back.
Looking to launch your new masterpiece? Then try something new with Moonbow Publishing and Publications. At Moonbow, we have a strong desire to serve authors in a powerful and meaningful way. After all, you've poured your heart and soul into your writing, and we fully understand and respect that. Remember this: you will own the copyright to your work. You will have the final say on your work before published. Even after all of that, we've saved the best for last. We won't take a percentage sold. Nope, not a penny. Excited about MoonbowPublications.com yet? We thought so. Take advantage of our company's services like book editing, formatting, and covers, publishing, and photography. Moonbow Publishing and Publications has everything you're looking for in a company. Remember, we will not keep any commissions. We are a boutique publishing company focusing on spiritual, health and wellness, and personal growth genres. So come and see what we can do for you at moonbowpublications.com. That's moonbowpublications.com. Moonbow Publications, a new kind of publishing company.
Past the hour. Thanks for tuning back in, guys, to the Afterlife Chronicles. Of course, I'm your host, Nicole Strickland. Our guest tonight, Brandon Wainwright, and we were talking about Reiki, which I believe is very beneficial. There's a lot of healing qualities to it. So, what's your opinion on performing Reiki on animals, dogs, cats, horses? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
In fact, there are classes you can take specifically for animal Reiki,
Just for animals,
which I have taken. I'm at the master level, which just means that I can teach it on.
That's amazing,
with humans.
Wow.
But I've taken the first level and then the distance level with animals. But the main difference is just really it's the energy is still Reiki. It's
Exactly.
just a matter of you're working on animals instead. But I found that they're very, with my animals, I can, when they're cuddling with me, I can give it to them. But generally, they don't want to sit still.
Yeah.
That's what so they kind of come when in the class that I took, it was just a few months ago, actually. We for our practical, if you will, we went to a husky rescue, and this place, it was like 15 huskies, right? And they all come into it was at someone's house, actually. It was a big house. So we all kind of sat in this room, and they would just let the huskies come in and run around, and they all kind of were drawn to certain people. And by the time we were done, which wasn't that long, huskies are pretty wired, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
By the time we were done, they were all just laying around all calm and chill, So animals are, they're very in tune with spirit. So I mean, just in general, I think that's what I believe it because of my experiences with Tyson.
Right.
But I actually in the book I talk about, there is this section where I talk about the number of kind of remarkable little cases that I've had with Reiki, and one of them was there was I guess he's a cattle dog. His name's Mickey, and there was a trail patrol at one of the parks that I work in, and the owner was there. The trail patrol person was there walking their dog, and the dog said, he's having issues with his hips, and he was just kind of limping around his rear hips, and so I said, hey, and it was interesting because I ride a motorcycle at work, but my hands had been buzzing all day long. It was like I noticed a lot of energy flowing. Just I wasn't sure why, it just was. And so I pulled into this parking lot, and there she is. We get to talk. Hey, would it be all right if I offer Mickey some Reiki? And she's like, oh, sure. And I didn't know this about her, but she is a fan of Reiki and had been going to a practitioner for a number of years. And so I got down on my knees and worked on Mickey for maybe 5 minutes at the most, because you could tell he was squirming around and didn't really want to sit still. But when I started giving it to him, Jackie says, wow, he really likes that. He likes that, And so she knows her. She knows her dog. So apparently he was looking pretty happy. And then, it was maybe 5 minutes, and then he got up, and where he had been limping around before, she has a minivan, and he ran over to the minivan and jumped up into the back of it. And then about a week or two later, I got a text from her that said, hey, I just want to give you an update on Mickey. The other thing I should preface it with is that she had come to the park from the vet where she had picked up pain meds for him. And after about a week or two later, when she texted me, she said, I never gave him any of the pain meds. and he,
Wow.
and he's been his loud, normal, crazy self ever since you worked on him. And when I was working on him, I felt, it was bzzz, I felt a ton of energy flowing through. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so animals, whether it be an animal or a human, they're great receivers of Reiki.
I
So
I
you
agree.
know,
I mean, and like you said, with an animal being in touch with purity and in touch with the divine, they're really going to benefit from it. So
yeah. And for
amazing
people
stuff.
that, that's actually something I would say for people that actually, yeah, for any animal lover, I would say, that has pets, I would say, find yourself a Reiki class and take it because and you only have to take the first level. It's just, a day or two of
Right.
your time. And from that
Yeah.
point on, you'll be able to work on your animals, even if it's just your animals at home, because at some point they're going to age,
Yep.
and unfortunately they don't live as long as we do. And that's something that you'll be able to offer them throughout their life. And,
Well said. Very well said.
so
That's yeah, it's like
just
it's
do it
having a
for your
package.
animals, if nothing else.
Why not? And it's good practice too. One
Yeah.
thing I want to touch on because we have about 9 minutes left. My God, time flies by. But I want to touch on your opinion after everything that you've gone through with Tyson. What is your advice to someone that has recently lost a very beloved animal, but is unsure whether to adopt or purchase, if you will, a new one?
Well, if it was recent, I would say trust your heart,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if you're still grieving, um, uh, uh, I think I actually wrote an article about this not that long ago, and
Ooh, nice.
I liken it to, being on the rebound.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
If you've ever had your heart broken, where you really love somebody, and you lose them for however, you break up, or they pass away, or whatever it is, um, you know going out right away and dating, it may give you a temporary fix, but it falls short, and
Yes,
you end up being left wanting. And
exactly. Yeah.
and it sets the person up that maybe the person's really interested in you, and you end up hurting them because you're not in a space where you can really take them in. It's the same thing with a pet, and
That's a very good analogy.
you're setting them up for failure. So I think if you got to trust your heart. You'll know when it's time, but that doesn't mean that you can't still have animal time. I mean, you can do volunteer work at the shelters. You can maybe sit for a friend. There's, rescues are always looking for fosters.
Oh, yes,
So
absolutely.
there's ways that you can get that fix, and pour out that love without necessarily having any strings attached.
Exactly. It's
So
yeah,
so
can't
I
put
would
a
say
time on
that,
it.
but I would also say, realize that, again, that they live on. That they
Yeah,
live
it's
on, and that this is a divine connection that you're going to establish with the pet. But that's, I would, for someone that's lost a pet already, then they well know that. But don't take it lightly. They,
exactly.
take them in. And honestly, I didn't look at it quite to this extent, to this level of depth, until this whole thing with Tyson. But yeah, I mean, you're entering a divine relationship with, you know with another divine soul, so, which is beautiful. It's going to bring a lot to you, but make sure you're ready for the commitment. Um, and as far as the healing, if the pet just recently passed away, I would say, be patient with yourself.
Absolutely.
Don't, like,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people, they I know a lot of people, they discount that loss. They're, if they're hurting really badly, they want to just move on from, oh, it's just a dog, or it's just a cat, or whatever.
Yeah, no, it
And
doesn't work like that.
no,
Mm-mm.
not if you really have your heart open, and you're really present with it. And I think a lot of people, well,
Exactly. Yeah.
the creature passes away, and then you want to get another one right away, and if you're hurting and you're grieving, give yourself time to get over that. And honestly, when Tyson passed away, I took 2 days off of work, and that was going into a 3-day weekend for me. and I was barely ready to come back to work the following week, and I didn't feel funny
Oh, I
about
can
that,
imagine.
but I've talked to people that were not that long ago where they're like, come on and take a day off for your dog. I was like,
No,
of
are you kidding?
course.
I would think it would be odd if you don't do that.
Yeah, but a lot of
Oh
people,
my God, I
a
know.
lot of people don't though. I mean,
I know.
they take the time to go put the dog down that day. Maybe they have to take a day off because of that, and then the next day they're right back at work. It's like, be patient with yourself.
That is
Give it the just due that it deserves. And stay, and in that process, stay connected to your animal, to your
right.
friend.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Such amazing information. And
I
you can't put a time limit on grief. You can't. It's impossible.
No. But the other thing I would say is that if if especially for people that, I mean, I don't even think I need to say it, for people that are spiritually tuned in and into a daily meditation process,
Yes.
but you literally can tune in to your friend.
Oh
you
yeah.
and it may not be like you're having a conversation with them, and and it's like they're there again, but you can feel their energy, you can feel their love.
Exactly.
And I would say definitely do that, because it does give you peace. It does, and you're helping them too, because you're connecting in a loving way that isn't necessarily, you're not holding them back. I think that when you've got a real hardcore, I'm sure for Tyson it was a drain for him when he first passed away, because I was grieving so hard. My wife didn't have as hard of a time with it as I did. I mean, I can remember like meditating and reaching out to him, like sitting in my daughter's swim practice and just sitting there in the car and just sobbing as I was meditating.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that's part of the grief process too. But as you're connecting with them, they can help you through it. You may not
Exactly.
realize.
That's so true. And you touched on something too, it can be draining for them. So I think, it's hard when we're grieving, but I think it's important to allow them to have the space so they can get accustomed to and acquainted with their, new reality, the afterlife, if you will. So that's a
Yeah,
good point that you mentioned. Where can
but if
people Oh, go ahead.
oh,
Sorry.
I was
I
just gonna
keep
say.
interrupting you.
No, I'm just a motor mouth. That's all. That's it. That's what my mom always called me, motor mouth. But if when you reach out to them, just reach out to them with, maybe you do it with the intention of expressing your love for them,
Yeah.
as
Well
opposed
said.
to your grief for them. Try to
Exactly. Yes.
try to do it with that type of energy, as opposed to, that more tragic energy. And it's just a perspective shift.
It really is. So well said, so articulate with all of this. Very great points. Lots of take home points here. But where can people, besides Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, where can people buy your amazing book? I am so happy to have a
Mm.
copy. So,
Yeah, I'm glad you have one.
yeah.
Yeah, if you go to tysonsgift.com,
Okay.
tysonsgift.com, that's the website, and it's got it's got a little bit more information about the book, and it has a button that says purchase now. You can, and that actually takes you to Amazon. That it's a print on demand, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so they print it as soon as you order it, as opposed to having
Exactly. Yeah.
an actual stock of it.
And
And
we
if you
put it
don't,
down here as well.
I know some people have a problem with Amazon. So, like, again, it is available on barnesandnoble.com. And if you Google it, there's a number of stores that you can order it
Right.
from as well. So everybody's different as far as that, and I understand the problems people have with Amazon. So if they want to go that route,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
is on Kindle. It's on Kindle if you get it at Amazon. And
Okay.
I'm closing in on on getting the Audible made, getting the audiobook
Oh,
made. So
that'll be interesting. That's
yeah,
nice.
yeah, it's
I know a
been,
lot of people like that.
yeah, and I think it'll probably help a lot with getting it out there. I can't tell you how many people say, I don't read books, I listen to them, and so, but it's been,
Yeah, I know,
this
right? Isn't that funny?
it's been a learning process for me as far as getting this thing out there, and so the Audible's no different. So
I can imagine.
it's
a
almost done
process.
though. Yeah, the book's done. It's actually been done. We're just doing the edits on
Well,
it
let me
now.
know when it is, and I'll promote it. I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight's show, and then your patience, because I know this is a
Oh
reschedule.
no.
Just
No.
all around amazing interview. Thank you for what you're doing. I'm going to thank Tyson as well because he's a part of all this. Just
Sure
amazing
is.
all around. And please, guys, get your copy of Tyson's Gift, tysonsgift.com. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family.
You
And
too.
yeah, I would love to have you back on again because I know there's some other aspects we didn't touch on. So I'll talk with
Anytime.
you about that.
Yeah,
Just
anytime.
really nice to meet you. Just an all around great interview. It'll be archived as well, so I'll email you with all the information on that. But I want to thank tonight's listeners, of course. You guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. No show next weekend because, of course, it falls right on Thanksgiving on Thursday. The week after, December 2nd, I will be having Seth Michael and Tristan David Lucciotti on the show. Again, thanks to tonight's guest, Brandon Wainwright at tysonsgift.com. We'll look forward to having him on the show in the future. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And here at the Afterlife Chronicles, we are bridging the gap between mortality and the afterlife, one experience at a time. See you not next week, the week after. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.